Today we have Kyle Powell interviewing for digital partnership with Minor League Baseball.
Nice to be here.
You've achieved impressive educational accomplishments. What do you see yourself doing in 5 years?
Well, ideally, I would like to be somewhere in a position of leadership, like a program director, that I've noticed is a position of good power and good leadership at Entercom Buffalo, my current employer. If not there, I would like to still pursue my dream of broadcasting baseball. I know I've heard from coworkers who work with the Buffalo Bisons, the local AAA affiliate, that it's a grind. You have to work up through the ladder. You know, you're going to be doing a lot of games, and Topeka, you really got to cut your teeth, but I'm willing to do that. And, one day I'd like to work myself through the ranks because I really have a passion for that sport.
What parallels do you feel exist between your duties with Entercom Buffalo and this position?
Well, with this position, I noticed upon reading the application that there was a lot of social media interaction and you want a better reach throughout the minor league baseball community. I feel like I could bring that to you because for the past year and a half, since really making a name for myself over at WGR Sports Radio 550 in Buffalo, I have helped sort of bring our social media reach up from the ground. It started with a position during the Sabres 2017-18 season where I was sort of thrown a bone by my program director, and he told me, hey, if you can make it to a couple games this year and sort of hone your craft on social media, then that would be great because our reach isn't that great. We don't do a lot of tweeting during games, and we'd like to be better in that area. So essentially, I kind of took the position and ran with it. I was told a couple games here or there whenever you can make it, and I said, well, if you're going to give me free hours, you're going to give me free opportunity, I'm going to come here as often as I can. And I've made it to, I believe, 76, 77 of the 82 games, almost the full schedule. So I was able to really take an opportunity and run with it, and I feel like I'm better for it.
Tell me about a time you handled conflict amongst your team members.
Well, currently I don't hold a position of real power at Entercom, but I did have a coaching position in baseball this past summer with a local showcase team out of North Tonawanda in New York. And, there were many instances over that summer where I had a chance to deal with conflict amongst team members, amongst teammates, amongst players I coached. I don't want to go too in depth on a lot of them, but I think the thing I remembered the most when conflict arose was that, it's my duty as the then 22-year-old who was freshly out of college, just as a showcase team for aspiring players in high school who are trying to make it to the next level that I just graduated from. I was playing college baseball in Buffalo for 4 years. I graduated in 2017, had 4 years under my belt. I wasn't that far removed from the process they were going through. It was my duty when conflict arose to remind them that, there are more important roads ahead. You want to make sure that you're showcasing yourself in the best way possible for coaches, because honestly, you don't know who's going to be in the stands at these games. You don't want to make a you-know-what out of yourself and take yourself off of a team's potential radar. It was my job as that coach. It was my first time in a position like that as well. At a pretty young age, I needed to remind myself a lot that I was a maker of men, because, you think back to coaches you looked up to at that age. They really were pillars to the person that I was today, and I wanted to make sure I was that for these players. I was bestowed this power upon just as much.
What are your daily duties in your current position?
As of now, we've gone to a lot more solidified positions now that we have a group of individuals at WGR 550 and ESPN 1520. It's a lot more defined roles. A couple months ago, I would have told you that I'm an occasional fill-in producer for our drive time weekday show up on the Bulldog 3 to 7, but now I am normally a drive time anchor, top of the hour updates, story writing from 3 to 7 o'clock, occasional fill-in on the Nightcap, which is our nighttime show, 7 to 9 p.m. And then at ESPN 1520, it's a lot of collegiate sports, University of Buffalo basketball, football. Right now we're in Buffalo Bandits lacrosse season, Buffalo Bisons baseball, as I mentioned earlier. And then, of course, Buffalo Sabres and Buffalo Bills game days. I could do a variety of positions. I have produced Sabres games. I have anchored Sabres games. I have been a social media coordinator for Buffalo Sabres games. But for the Bills, primarily when they're in season, they're about to be at the end of the summer and into the fall, I will be mostly a post-game anchor.
I see you have experience anchoring football and hockey. What makes you want to pursue baseball now?
Well, it's kind of funny you asked that. I'm actually not, I think, in my niche quite yet. This is my first really professional position coming out of college, and it was all put together, ironically, by an internship. I had some experience talking with my two program directors at 1520 and 550 when I was an intern back in the fall of 2015. So I was able to turn that into a position and really build off that and hone my strengths and work on my craft. And ironically, though, in Buffalo, we don't have much more baseball to talk about than the AAA team. We don't do a lot of that. So I'm learning a lot behind the scenes and occasional on air at this point, building my on-air personality and my persona right now, but I hope one day to move to a different market, much like Florida, which is a lot bigger baseball reach with the Tampa Bay Rays and the Miami Marlins, because I think that's my true passion. I haven't been able to be unleashed yet because we don't have a lot of baseball here in Buffalo.
You've been lucky to have tons of internship experiences. Would you say these helped you figure out what your passion is?
Absolutely. I had a professor in college at Medaille. I don't want to name drop here, but one of his biggest talking points throughout my 4 years as an undergrad student was, internships are key and don't burn bridges. And my position at WGR, Entercom Buffalo as the umbrella, is a great reminder of not burning bridges, because there was almost 2 years between my internship and my part-time position with the radio station. That could have gone a lot differently if I didn't reach back out to them after my first summer graduated from college. So absolutely, between that and then working as an assistant to the SID, Sports Information Director at Medaille College, while I was an undergrad as well, that taught me a lot of different skills as well, and it made me realize that I love writing. I wrote a lot of sports articles for the teams, behind the scenes work. It gave me a nice startup. It was a lot more video cut, but cutting audio and cutting video can essentially, it's mostly the same thing to some regards. So cutting those videos for sports highlight videos while I was in college helped set me up greatly for cutting a radio interview from the morning that I need to get to in the afternoon here at Entercom.
Your resume says you're a quick learner and a crucial thinker. Tell me about a time you had to practice something you just learned and how it went.
Well, I will go back to just about a year ago. Our full-time producer of Show Up in the Bulldog left his position for a corporate job. So it left us kind of in, I don't want to say shambles, but people were getting moved around really fast. A couple of other coworkers of mine were being tested out and trained, and really seeing who would step up to the plate to be another full-time producer of that show. And in the meantime, I was still working on perfecting my updates for top of the hour updates, sports updates. So I wasn't quite there yet. I didn't think I was, but with this move from my other coworker who's moved on to corporate, that kind of came in the blink of an eye. So we had to move pretty quickly, and I was no exception to that. So there was a coworker of mine who was, I don't want to say a full-time anchor, but he was there 3 to 4 days of the week working in that afternoon position. He got thrusted into the producing role. So me, out of nowhere, I was still graduating sort of from ESPN 1520 over to WGR. I was then thrust into a role that I didn't feel like I was quite ready yet for, but I accepted the challenge, and here we are a year later. I'm still doing fine in that position.
These positions recommend and or prefer more experience. What still makes you our guy?
I'll put it in one word. It's just passion. Baseball as a whole. I love the history. I love the statistics. I love everything about the sport. It's really been the only sport I've ever played and studied and wanted to be a part of since I was 4 years old. That's almost 2 decades now. I feel like my passion for the game will ring true even though I'm still very young in my profession. And I wouldn't have as much experience as somebody else who has been through the ringer, but I feel like what I bring to the table just from innate knowledge of the sport would shine through in a good way.